recording this video, so you'll be able to see this and download it later after the session as well. Following that, we'll be talking about what the Business Studies and Economics course is all about, and I'm delighted to introduce Anna, who will be joining us shortly to talk about that. I'll be explaining a little bit more about our Maths and Economics course and what that relates to and how that applies to the foundation programme, and there'll obviously be an opportunity for questions at the end and throughout. Hopefully you'll all have the chance to use the raise your hand feature and to add comments to the side of the webinar. I will try and keep an eye on the comments as we're going and try and respond to you as possible. But again, raise your hand if you've got any questions, and hopefully we'll be able to answer them as well as we can. Is that okay with everybody? I'll assume so. So let's start at the beginning. My name is Tom Such. I'm the Operations Director for the University of Warwick International Foundation Programme. We have a number of other colleagues with us today. Alison Durham, who you've seen, is our Programme and Development Officer. And Alison will be hopefully keeping track of things in this session for us today. We've got Anna Hillier, who is to my right.
Hello.
Anna is our Business Studies tutor, and we've also got an alumnus logging in, Asya, who will be logging in from somewhere on our campus currently, sitting hopefully in the library with a bit of audio to talk to you shortly as well. So without further ado, I'm going to start the session talking about what the International Foundation Programme is all about at the University of Warwick. First though, let's hear a little bit from Nadia to just introduce herself and talk about her role and how she works with us at the moment. Nadia, over to you.
Do you hear me?
We do, yeah.
Hello everybody. I'm Nadia Kalinicheva. I'm based in Russia, in St. Petersburg, and now I'm switching into Russian, if it is okay.
Yeah.
Меня зовут Надежда Голенищева. Я нахожусь в России, в Санкт-Петербурге. Я являюсь представителем университета в России и Казахстане. Работаю уже более 14 лет, почти 15 лет. И студентам поступать. С любыми вопросами, какие у вас только есть, вы можете ко мне обращаться. Мои контакты есть здесь, они также есть в переписке, которые, в имейлах, которые к вам приходили, на любом этапе, начиная с того, какой курс выбрать, подходят ли ваши документы, дальше подача документов в университет, работа с визой, проживанием и так далее. Я буду рада вам помочь, обращайтесь. Это все бесплатно, вам нет необходимости обращаться ни в какие агентства. Буду рада вам помочь. Over to you, Tom.
Thank you very much, Nadia. So without further ado, I'll proceed and give you a bit of a summary about what the University of Warwick is all about, where we are, and just hopefully answer some of your questions about the university first and foremost. Hopefully some of you already know this. The University of Warwick is in England. It's in what we call the heart of England, so in the centre of England. It doesn't look like it on the map that you see there on the slides, but we are very much in the middle of England, not Scotland, not Ireland, but England. So as you can see from the image on the right-hand side, we're about an hour from London on the train, which is obviously the capital city of the UK. We're about 20 minutes from Birmingham, which is the second largest city in the UK, and we're very, very close to the city of Coventry. We're based just on the outskirts of Coventry, which is 10 minutes from the campus of the university. So what that means for students that may be joining us is you've got access to lots and lots of local history, facilities, the culture in places like Stratford-upon-Avon, which is close as well, and obviously the capital city. So it's all really much on the doorstep of the university. As you'll also see there on that grid, we're very close to Oxford as well, and obviously an airport is in very close proximity to the university through Birmingham International and Heathrow, just another hour and a half away from campus. So that's where we're based. And this is a few of the pictures of our university campus. Every university will tell you the same sort of things about their campus. We're very green, we're very international, We've got great facilities. What I would recommend you do is look on our website and get a sense of the videos that are out there. We have some really great videos explaining what the university campus is all about. But we do have, as you'd expect, world-leading facilities and things on our campus because we are a world-leading university. So some of these pictures, I hope, summarize what we're like. The picture right in the middle at the top is in our new teaching and learning building. This was opened this year. It's a multi-million-pound building, and it's just for students. It's just a teaching building, and they're really brand new facilities that you'll see on campus and hopefully see every year and growing as the campus grows and develops. So please do spend a bit of time looking at the website, because there's some great pictures of our campus on there and some great videos too. One thing I think is quite good and unique about the University of Warwick is the extensive sports available to students. So we cater for students who are professionals, experts in their field, and also amateurs, people like me who aren't very good at sports, who just want to get involved in a bit of football or a bit of tennis. So we have over 65 sports clubs on campus and a new sports centre and gym which will be opening in the next few years as well. And we really encourage our students to get involved in as much sporting activity as possible while they're here. We want to be an active campus, and it's really great being part of a campus university where we have lots of fields and facilities that really stretch out across the institution. So sport is a big part of what we're like as a university. And we also are very, very lucky in that we have our very own arts centre right in the middle of campus. That's a picture of our arts centre. This is the second largest arts centre outside of the City of London, and it's right in the middle of campus. So you have access to a cinema, a theatre, performance spaces, and regular activities that are performed by students in an arts centre. So if you're into drama or theatre, there are opportunities for you on campus as well. We also obviously have a students' union, a very active students' union at the university, where we have regular nightclubs and student-led events, but also lots of student support activities as well, all taking place run by students for students in the students' union building. So another thing we're really pleased and proud about at the university is how international we are. We think it's a really core part of the university experience here at Warwick. We have over 120 nationalities on campus here, and many of our students choose to study abroad either as part of their degree, before it or after it as well. Part of the offer we have in our Office for Global Engagement is the immigration support and guidance. It's very complicated quite often to come and study in the UK, so we want to make sure we can help any student who chooses to do that throughout that process. So we have a great immigration team who help all of our students from overseas. We also do things like sightseeing trips, which give you the opportunity to look outside of the campus. So we go to places like Oxford and London, lots of other cities around the UK. We do that both within the department here at Warwick, but also through our Office for Global Engagement too. And what we'll be introducing over the next few years, and what we have at the moment, is an orientation week where international students join us a few days before the course starts to get to know each other, to do the basic things that you'd expect, like set up a bank account or meet your personal tutor, but also do some social things and visit a few places around the campus. So we're very geared up towards making sure internationalisation is core to what we do at the university. The final thing to mention is we have what's called a One World Week, which is a huge student-led festival managed by students, as I said, where they introduce guest speakers from around the world. It's a real celebration of our international campus, and that takes place in the summer term at the university. Okay, any questions about the university so far? Do you all hear me okay? I hope that was no, you've got no questions, not no, you can't hear me. Okay, so let's move on to look at the International Foundation Programme. So just to give you a bit of a summary of the course, we have 5 academic programmes running for the International Foundation Programme. We have a Business and Economics course, Maths and Economics course, Science and Engineering, Law and Social Sciences, and we'll talk about a couple of those programmes shortly. One of the core features is that all of the students that study the International Foundation Programme receive a guaranteed offer of a place at Warwick. That offer is conditional upon them doing well on the course, obviously, but you've got that safety net knowing that you will definitely get an offer for Warwick. We don't offer pharmacy at the University of Warwick, unfortunately, but some of our students have progressed on to pharmacy courses elsewhere, but not at Warwick. With regard to what you are as a student, students that enrol on the IFP here are completely part of the university. We're not a separate company, we're not on the other side of the city. All of our students are just the same as our undergraduate students. They live in halls of residence on campus. They are part of the academic community in the same regard. They have access to the library, the sports centre, and absolutely everything that our undergraduates and our postgraduate students have on campus. As I said, all of our students usually live on campus unless they choose not to. And we really will be supporting students getting into halls of residence on campus this year. All of our students this year live on university halls of residence, and we expect that to be the same next year. A key part of the course, obviously, for students joining us is preparing for future studies. So we provide an awful lot of advice and support for students when applying through UCAS to other universities as well as the University of Warwick. So we'll be providing support to write personal statements, references, and all those other things you'd expect as part of the application process. Within the department, we also have a wide range of extracurricular activities. These include things like trips again to local places and local attractions. We're also having academic trips linked to the courses. For example, a trip to Bletchley Park, which is where the Codemasters were based in the Second World War, and where the Enigma machine was cracked. So there are lots of things that we do as part of the course to make sure you can get out from the campus and explore the local area. There was a question from Ulzan, which was how many international students are studying here. On the programme at the moment, we have around 220 students, all international, and we'd expect around 300 students on the course next year. Again, all of them would be overseas students. So just looking specifically at the academic programme, you'd be expected to have 23 hours of contact time per week. That includes up to 5 hours for our English language certificate, which is designed to develop and improve your English language on the course. You'll have 1 hour per week of classroom tuition for tutorials, so you will meet with a personal tutor once a week. That's quite different to our undergraduate students who may meet once a term or twice a term. You will meet your personal tutor every week, and they'll be there to support and help you throughout the programme, and particularly around UCAS and as you apply for university. And then there'll be 17 hours dedicated to the other 4 academic units that you'll be studying. Overall, there's a 27-week teaching programme with 5 weeks for exams and revision. And also I would say there's extensive online facilities as you'd expect for the course as well. So just to give you a brief summary of the grades needed to get into the course, that was a good question from Ulzan. You're already knowing where I'm going next. So the online application process runs until the 31st of July, so you must apply before then. And for Russia, you'd need a senior high school certificate of at least a 4.5 out of 5. And the IELTS is 5.5 required with a 5.0 in every component. One thing I would say is that a personal statement is really important for this course, and you do need to present one when you're applying. We want to know why you want to join the programme, specifically the course you're applying to. We want to know that you're aware of the progression opportunities available and where you'd like to go next. We want to see evidence of extracurricular activity related to the course if you have it, but most importantly, why you want to study that academic subject. Okay, and we just don't want you to tell us you want to be a business person in the future, or you want to be an actuary in a business firm. We want you to tell us why you want to study that academic subject. Okay, and then the fees are also written down the bottom of the slide there for you. The academic fees, the accommodation fees, and the living expenses. Of course, you'll also have to factor in the fees for the remaining 3 or 4 years of your course after you've studied at Warwick on the foundation programme. Okay, so this is the information for Attestat. If you have other academic qualifications like SATs or other non-Russian qualifications, we have a list of our entry criteria on our website. We will consider we will consider students on an individual basis if it's a sort of non-standard applicant. SATs, you'll be able to find our scores on our website for the SAT requirements. With regard to attestat, as I said, it's a 4.5 out of 5. And some courses will have subject-specific requirements. So for business, we'd expect a 4.5 in maths. Maths and economics also a 4.5 in mathematics, and the same for science and engineering plus physics as well. Importantly, when you apply, we need the documents translated. My Russian is not very good at all, so please do translate those documents for us. And also, just a general note to make sure that the name is spelt in Latin symbols on your passport before you apply. That just speeds things up. Should I speak in Russian or English? Oh, sorry. Apologies, there's notes on the side as well. And under 18s, we need to provide a guardianship letter as well. Are there any questions about the application process? Okay. So just to give you a sense of where our students go after the foundation program, around 30 to 35% of students each year progress on to Warwick, with the remainder of our students going to other really good UK institutions. A lot of students are interested in going to London after the foundation program, so the likes of UCL, LSE, Imperial. But we've also seen students go to Manchester, City University, Lancaster and Oxford as well, so lots of really good universities. Importantly for us, we have really good relationships with all universities in the UK, and most universities, if not all, accept the foundation program from Warwick, and they see it as a quality course. So it's really important for us that we continue to have those relationships. Also invite universities onto campus each year, and usually around 20 universities join us to try and speak to you as students and to encourage you to apply to their institutions as well. Now, they want the best students and we want the best students at Warwick, and that university fair is a good opportunity for you to kind of get to know other institutions. And finally, obviously, there's lots of advice and guidance presented from myself, my team and the academic team here at Warwick about not applying to Warwick but other universities as well. Any more questions? Okay, I see we've got a question about a motivational letter or a personal statement. We do need a personal statement, as I said before. So in your personal statement, you need to tell us why you're choosing a specific course, explain your awareness of the progression opportunities on the course, and why specifically you want to study that particular subject. So tell us why you're excited about the course and why it's a great program for you. We have more information on our website about that, so I'd encourage you to look there. Okay, so I'm pleased to move over to Asia now, who's going to give you a bit of an update from the student's perspective.
Hello, can everyone see me and hear me? I hope yes. Okay, perfect. I'll start speaking in English, I guess, but if at some point you want me to switch to Russian, that's also fine, just message on the group chat. So glad to see you, Tom and Nadia. I was a Warwick Foundation student myself in 2013 to 2014. I did a social science stream, but I did some modules that business students also do in their foundation year, so I might help you somehow with that. Then when I finished my foundation, I went into full-time study undergraduate degree at Warwick. I do politics and international studies, and I'm in my final year now. Graduating in a couple of months, hopefully. So yeah, my time at Warwick, and both in Warwick and IFP, has been really rewarding in terms of academic and social life as well. I don't know if I should answer any specific questions, or if you have any questions at all, just ask them. I'll just talk about the general experience. Yeah, to me, I've always wanted to study social science, and I've always been interested in studying international politics. So Warwick is quite highly ranked in that sense. So for that reason, I went to do my foundation at Warwick as well. It was quite challenging academically at the beginning, but the tutors are very helpful, and I've never had a problem when, I just didn't know what to do and I was like completely lost in a subject. Like this never happened to me. The teachers, as I said, were very helpful. They were always there for you, and obviously they do understand that as international students coming from different countries, you might encounter some difficulties. So everyone was patient and helpful, and there was not a problem at all. So the question is, what FP subject we found the most difficult? To me, probably the most difficult subject was economics, but just because I've never studied it before. As a social science student, I might have had like a different approach to it, apart from compared to business students, for example. But you just have to, keep asking questions, and you'll get there in the end. I can't say that it was something that was incredibly hard to me. It was just a bit more challenging than everything else. But yeah, in the end, it all turned out quite well. And I was actually happy I had to study it during the foundation, because then it helped me throughout my university course as well. So yeah, I don't know if there are any other questions about the university maybe itself or the foundation program. I think it's, you guys are also lucky in the sense that, as I know, Warwick Foundation has now moved to Warwick campus, which is also very helpful because you get to, emerge into the community and you can see how the university life is really like. How good was your English as you started? Which level? You mean in terms of IELTS? I think when I did my first IELTS, I was in my final year of high school. I think I had a 7 or 7.5, but I was preparing really hard for that. Took me probably between 2 and 3 months of really intensive studying. So then I passed it, and then yeah, I can't say that it's like, even if your IELTS level is, I don't know, 6 or 6.5 or 5.5, you can still boost it up once you're in the program, because first of all, you have a specially dedicated subject to do that. For instance, during our English language subjects, we were always trained to pass the exam, and then obviously once you start reading and studying in the language, you start to better understand it. And even in some social situations, you get to share accommodation with international students, and you have to communicate somehow. So within the first few weeks, everyone's English just becomes much, much better. So it shouldn't be a problem at all, I think. Yeah, so other questions? How do you feel about studying with people who have a different native language? How did you get along with when you started studying? It was actually quite interesting. Everyone was sort of in the same boat, even though we were all coming from different countries. We were all, international students. We were all new to this environment, so it wasn't a problem at all. I remember I was sharing a flat with students from China, from Laos, from Russia as well. And then my classmates were from all over the world, like Finland, Brazil, Hong Kong, Japan. And then, in the end, it's really rewarding as well, in a sense, because you're not only learning the subject, but you also learn how to get along with people from other countries, and it's also like very interesting. I think it's definitely a big advantage of studying on this program. Based on your experience, what advice would you give yourself before IFP? What would you like to know better? How could you be prepared? Probably I would try to read a bit more articles in English. So, like for example, when you get to discuss it, this is how it worked for us, at least in the social science stream. In subjects like politics or sociology, we were discussing a lot of current affairs things, and so in order to do that, you just need to be able to talk about simple things. So you just need to be more maybe aware of what's happening in the world and things like that. So maybe like worth just downloading like a BBC app, or like from time to time go to The Guardian, or like read some news in English. It will really help you, not only in terms of the language, but like in terms of the general background of like what's happening in the world. That please tell us about accommodation. As I think it has changed now. So as I know, Warwick students, IFP students now live on Warwick campus, because when I did my foundation program was quite different. We lived off campus. But in terms of Warwick accommodation, all the halls are really good, and I haven't. Accommodation will be Sherburn next year. Okay, so yeah, Sherburn is a great accommodation. I've had a couple of friends living there. It's all en suite, which is really good, and it's quite a nice walk to Central Campus, so it shouldn't be a problem. Did you pass SAT reasoning? No, I think it's not required for the program. How long do courses last today? I think we had about 4 or 5 subjects a day. So we would have lectures, maybe 1 or 2 lectures, and then also 1 or 2 seminars. So that's quite the same as in the Russian schooling system. Maybe we would have a bit more self-study time, which is a good preparation for your university, because as you progress into university degree, you will have even less contact hours and even more self-study hours. But in foundation, it was quite balanced, I would say. Do you have an example of your schedule? No, I don't have an example of a schedule. I only remember that we started early in the morning, like 9 or 10, and then we would finish around 3 or 4, obviously with different lunch breaks and so on and so forth. But yeah, I think it's something like that. Okay, so there's someone answering the question. Yes, do you have any more questions I could answer? Was it hard to get used to new environments in a different country? Yeah, I mean, obviously, so the question is about getting used to the new environment. I mean, yeah, it is quite different, especially because, it's the first time, probably for the majority of you, it's the first time you're moving away from living with your parents, and you're not only living independently, but you're also living in another country. But it's a very interesting experience. I feel like it teaches you a lot in terms of how, starting from the basic things, like how to manage your own shopping or cooking or whatever, to more complex things like adapting to a new environment. But I mean, as long as you're sociable and, just willing to explore things around you, it shouldn't be a problem. What kind of visa should you have after Brexit? I don't know. That you should probably ask that the employers. Or yeah, I don't know what type of visa. Probably if you're willing to work in the UK, you need a work visa, but to study you need a Tier 4 visa, as Nadia said. Are there any classes related to biology for those who are interested in medicine? I don't know. You should probably ask the program managers. Is there a huge difference in complexity between foundation degree and bachelor year? Yeah, it's quite different. I mean, as I said, you get a lot of self-study hours in your university degree, which is quite different from foundation, and especially from schooling, and especially from Russian education system. So you have to learn. You just have to understand that like no one's going to explain anything to you unless you ask. So which I found quite challenging for not only for myself but for other students. So you also need to learn how to manage and prioritize your own time. Nobody's going to tell you that. So if you have a deadline for an essay, obviously, as everyone does in their first year, they wait until the very last day to start writing it, which becomes harder and harder as you get more assignments and you progress into your second and final year. So when I just finished my school, I found that quite different and difficult at the beginning. But then again, like you get to learn, like they're not throwing you into nowhere right away. You have time and you have support to prepare for that. Yeah, so any other questions or any concerns? Overall, like I say, you shouldn't worry too much. Like the amount of support that you get during the program and the university is great. And as long as you're willing to learn and are interested in that, like it should be a problem.
Thank you very, very much, Anastasia. That was really, really helpful, and you answered some really difficult questions there, so thank you. And apologies for me getting your name wrong twice, so thank you for putting up with as well. Does anyone have any final questions at all? Yeah, so Alison's just answered the question about biology. We have a science and engineering course on the program, and within that you can do biology. You can also do chemistry and psychology and physics in there as well. So we do have biology options now on this particular program. So thank you very, very much for your time, Anastasia. I wish you all the best of luck for the rest of your studies this year. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, so I'm afraid you're back with me. So we'll move back on to looking specifically at business studies and economics, and I'm really pleased to introduce Anna, who's going to talk to you about the business studies and economics. Thank you.
Right, hello everybody. What I wanted to do in this session was cover, just hold on a minute, the slide doesn't seem to be moving. That's right. So what I wanted to do is cover the main areas of the study on the course. So just give you an idea what the sort of business studies course covered. What I also want to do is look at the format for the course and look at the different seminars we do and how that all works together. And finally, what I'll finish with is looking at the assessment that you will have to do as part of the course. What you'll see is that's very similar whichever course you choose, but it just gives you an idea of what's expected of you at the end of the course. So this is what's covered in the business course, and what I'll be doing is talking about each of those separately, just to give you an idea of what we cover. So we talk about sort of the nature of business, talking about it in its environment, what sort of things are within those business functions, the sort of people within business, and finally what we finish with is looking at sort of quality assurance and business performance. So like I said, what I'll do is I'll go through each of those and just give you an idea of what's covered on the business course. So the first one, the nature of business, what we do initially is look at what is a business. I mean, if you ask my students, they'll think about a business is to make profit. But what we actually do is talk about not-for-profit businesses as well, so things like charities, social enterprises, and we look at all the different businesses that you may be involved in or you may come across in your working life. We look at why businesses exist. Why did they start? Who starts them? So we'll do a lot of the background and give you a good foundation for that. We'll look at different objectives different businesses have, what forms businesses can take, and then look at those different advantages and disadvantages. So initially what we do is a little bit of theory behind businesses, but then what we try and do is give you lots of examples within the UK and overseas of those different types of businesses. So hopefully that mixture of sort of theory and then putting it into practice helps you with your understanding. I mean, what you'll see is when I talk about the format of the course, we have lectures, and in the lectures we tend to cover the theory, and then we have seminars within the same week. So that gives you an opportunity in those seminars to ask lots of questions. We'll do case studies, we'll have different types of activities to try and sort of develop your understanding within that subject area that we've covered in the lecture. So hopefully it's a nice balance of the theory and then putting that into practice to sort of, like I say, enhance your understanding before then we move on to the next part of the theory. So the next module we look at is the business and its environment. Obviously businesses don't exist in a vacuum, so what we'll do is look at how businesses respond to its environment. So what's out there that the business needs to take on board. We'll look at competitors, so how businesses get on with the competitors and the relationship there is there. We'll look at people who have an interest in that business, so things like the suppliers of the business, the stakeholders, the shareholders, and the managers within the business, the employees. Look a bit at trade unions and how all those work together. We'll look at legal changes, so obviously if there's new legislation coming in that will affect the businesses, so we'll look at that. We'll look at the political changes, so for instance at the minute we've looked at Brexit and how that's affecting some of the businesses here, how businesses can plan ahead and make changes. We'll look at environmental concerns, so obviously there's things that are happening in the environmental lobby or environmental legislation that's affecting businesses. We'll look at things like demographics and social change, so look at how that affects businesses and how that affects business planning. And then whether there are any sort of technological changes, so how is IT perhaps enhancing businesses? How can businesses change and fit with those technical changes within the environment? Next module we look at is business functions. So what we do is, if you like, we've looked at the external factors, we've looked outside of the business, and we now go into the business. What is happening within that business? How do the functions within that business, if you like, contribute to the success of the business? So what we do is spend quite a bit of time looking at finance. So we kind of link in with the sort of maths side of things. We'll be doing things like sources of finance, where the business will get its money from. We'll look at putting together things like balance sheets. We'll perhaps look at cash flow forecasting, so look at a year ahead, what sort of money will be coming into the business, how will the business be spending its money, how do we try and make that balance within a business. And we'll be looking at how you can actually read those spreadsheets and how you can make sense of those. We then look at marketing, so it's very good for a business to have a product, but if people don't know about that product, they won't actually buy that product. So we look at how can they effectively market their product, and we spend quite a bit of time on looking at how different businesses market their product, who's their target market, how effective is their marketing, and things like that. So it's a really interesting different aspects there. Then we look at the operations management, so if we're making products, how does the business go about doing that, or the different options they have for doing that and how that fits together. We then look at how businesses plan. So we'll look at how we can put a business plan together, how can they if you like, get support for their business, how can they get finance for their business, how can they set objectives for their business, and how they put all those plans together to in effect start a new business or to go forward within that business. We then look at people in business. So again, it's looking internally within that business. So how, like, sort of leadership styles within that business, how that fits together, what works, what doesn't work, advantages and disadvantages for each one of those. We look at motivation. So how can we motivate people within the business? And again, different types of motivational theories. And we look at culture. There's quite a bit of time we spend on looking at culture within those businesses. And again, the different businesses and different types of culture to give you a good understanding of how that works. Finally, we then look at how do we actually monitor the business performance. So how do we know the business is doing well? How do we know those objectives have met? How do we know we're in a good place to move forward? So we'll cover things like quality performance. How do we know that we're actually making a good quality product? How do we know we're providing a good quality service? We'll look at the workforce and how do we know that's effective, and things like workforce planning. How do we put the business in a good place for actually going forward for the next few years? And we look at capacity. Have we got capacity within that business? How do we plan for that? How do we know we're in a good place? And cover things like that. And then we also look at how businesses fail, because I think it's quite important to be aware of those issues so we can try and address those in how we put together businesses and plan businesses. The course format, as I sort of mentioned earlier, we have what's called lectures and seminars. So you will have 2 one-hour lectures per week. That's to cover, so all the students will come together, all the business students will come together for those lectures twice a week. And we tend to do in those lectures kind of the theory behind the modules that we're doing. So we'll cover lots of theory, perhaps give you ideas of different reading you need to do and cover that basis. What we then do is have 3 hours of seminars per week. So that's normally a 2-hour seminar and a 1-hour seminar. Now the seminars are a chance to really get sort of practical with the theory that we've done in the lectures. So what we do is things like case studies, we'll have discussions, we might have a task where the students themselves go away and do a bit of research and present that back to the group. But that's the chance to, if you like, ask lots of questions and really embed that learning that we've covered in the lecture. But it's putting a practical side to the theory, if you like, in those seminars. Over the whole year you're here, we cover 2 sorts of different assessments. So the formative assessment is a way, if you like, just measuring your progress. It makes sure you're on target. It makes sure that we know as teachers that you're making good progress. And if there are any issues, we can pick them up sooner rather than later. So it's just a way of, if you like, monitoring your progress. And we do that throughout the year. The summative assessments are, if you like, what makes up your final grade at the end of the course. So there are 3 of those, and I'll explain those as well for you. Sorry, this is just an example of the formative assessment. So we'll do things in class, we'll make it fun, so things like quizzes, multiple choice tests. So again, that's a way of hopefully you knowing that you are making progress and that you are understanding things, but also for us as teachers of knowing that actually you are understanding things, or if there's a problem, we can go back over it, or we can talk to you individually if there are any issues. That we may set short research tasks, so we might get you to come do some additional reading and find out things. We may set a task of doing group presentations. So again, as a group, you'll go away and do a bit of research and then go and present it back to the rest of the group. So it's a different way of learning, but it's a fun way of learning. And I think it's a very good way of you developing some good skills as well, of actually being able to stand up and give presentations to the rest of your class. We do short writing assessments, we'll do lots of case studies, and we'll try and make it as practical and fun in those seminars as we can do. For the summative assessments, this is the ones that are really key to you getting your final grade. There are 3 summative assessments. So one of them is you actually writing a business plan. So we'll give you the support to do that, we'll give you the structure to do that, and you will then have to be writing 1,500 words on a business plan. So it's about you setting up your own business and what would you include in that business plan. That will count towards 40% of your marks. The second one is a group presentation of a business analysis. So it's looking at the different modules that we've used during the lessons, choosing a business, and then actually working as a group to actually put a presentation together to, if you like, analyse why the company is so good. So why is that a success? And then finally, at the end of the year, there's a 2-hour unseen exam, and that will cover all of the work that you've done over the year. But what we do is actually, that will cover, like I said, that covers a whole year, but we spend the last few weeks actually doing lots of revision, so there's a chance to do lots of practice questions, things like that. So hopefully by the time you get there, that shouldn't be a concern, shouldn't be a worry. You will have seen very similar questions and you'll be used to answering those sort of exam questions. And that final exam then covers 40% of your module mark. So hopefully, like I said, the other two are during the year, and the end of the exam, like I said, is right at the end. So hopefully you'll be seeing you can making good progress throughout the year, and we've not just loaded everything on the end of it. You're making those assessments during the year, and you're getting lots of support to do that as we go through.
What does unseen exam mean?
Unseen exam means you won't see the paper before you actually walk into the exam room. So it's effectively, you'll sit down, you'll have a new paper that nobody's seen before, and you will be expected to answer those questions on there. The exam is made of 2 parts. The first part of the exam are compulsory questions. They're short questions, but you have to answer each one of those, and they're just worth a few marks, so maybe 3 marks, 5 marks. The second part are more essay-style questions, and you get a choice of 2 out of the 6 of those, and they are obviously more marks for those essay questions. So hopefully, with the mixture, that it gives everyone a good chance to actually get to gain lots of marks through that by having the short questions and then the long essay questions. So just skip the final slide, was just about your progression routes. It's just to give you an idea of courses that you can do linking on from the business, but I mean obviously there are other courses out there, but most of our students tend to either be into sort of the management or marketing or accounting, but there are lots of very similar sort of courses out there. Are there any questions about the business side of things? Okay, I'll pass back over to Tom. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. That was really, really helpful. I hope you all learned a little bit more about our business course here on the programme. Are there any final questions about that? Okay, in which case I will move on to giving you a bit of a quick summary about economic theory on the Maths and Economics route. We get a lot of questions from students, particularly in Russia and Kazakhstan actually, about the economics on this programme. And as you heard from Anastasia earlier, some people do think this is the hardest bit of our course here. So I thought I'd give you a bit of a summary about what you might be learning on this particular module if you choose to study with us. So firstly, just at the basic level, what is economics? Well, we treat economics at the university as a social science, and it is very much part of the social science discourse in the university. And it's defined simply as the study of the production, distribution, and consumption of wealth in society. So that's a dictionary definition. But you'll all have heard about economics in your daily lives, whether it be things you hear in the news about stock markets, or the increase or decrease in the pound, for example, in currency, or the way you interact with friends and family about buying products or selling products, or buying services or selling them. So you all have your own idea about what economics is. What I would say is it draws from many subjects. So that might be mathematics, politics, psychology, history, and very, very few subjects that you might study won't be in some way connected to economics. So you may be doing biology and think, well, how is biology linked to economics? Well, it is if you think about the research income that goes into biology, or the construction of big biological instruments. So in some way it is connected to economics. So we like to see economics as a connected course that really requires you to draw on other subjects you might be studying. So one of the things you will need to identify and look at in the course is the difference between macro and microeconomics. These are the two main branches of economics. So on a basic level, if you think of micro as small and macro as big, so microeconomics really is the study of the implication of individual human actions and how these decisions affect what happens. Okay, so you look at small instances. So it's focused upon, as it says there, the processes of resource allocation within individual markets. So think small actions for me, how does that impact the situation? Macro, on the other hand, is about large matters to do with the economy. So it focuses on the whole economic system as a whole. So when you think macroeconomics, think usually countries or big organizations. And it takes what we said there as a bird's eye view of the economy as a whole. And it's concerned with topics such as economic growth, which you may have heard through GDP and things like that, and inflation as well, and also things like interest rates in there too. So just looking a little bit closer at microeconomics, you'll look at sort of the basic concepts and terminology of economics at a micro level. You'll look at things like demand and supply and equilibrium, this equilibrium even. That's a really core part of what microeconomics is all about. Does anyone know what I mean by demand and supply and equilibrium? Any idea? Well, essentially, that's the point at which when the price, if you will, and the demand for that product are perfectly matched. So the supply is right and the demand is right. It's the point in the middle, and that's essentially the point when the allocation of goods is at its most efficient. So you'll look at a lot of that. It's a core part of microeconomics. You'll also look at things like markets and government failure. So looking at how the demand and supply model match prices and things like that in an individual basis, and things like cost and revenue curves and the relationship to other elements of microeconomics as well. On the larger scale, you look at big factors such as aggregate demand and supply in a market. They could be countries, and they could be regions, they could be global. And then you look at things like economic growth, obviously at the moment very interesting, with different political systems. So if you look at the USA and the approach of Donald Trump in America, what does that impact and how does that impact the macro level across the world? And obviously, how does it impact things like unemployment, inflation, or even balance of payments models as well? The bottom one is really important and again summarizes how economics links globally to issues that are outside of the study of math. So politics and policies, how do monetary, fiscal and supply side policies affect the domestic or global economy? So as I said, what's the effect of Donald Trump on the global economy? What is the effect of trade tariffs imposed by Donald Trump or removed by Donald Trump? And how do they impact on the lives of individuals and the finances of individuals in different countries? So macroeconomics, again, looking at the big picture, micro on an individual basis. Does that make sense? No comments, so I'm hoping I'm telling you the right thing. Good. So, as I said, economic theory really develops your skills in understanding that complex, the complex economic problems that we have. And hopefully you'll be able to apply economic theory across a whole range of different subjects that you'll be studying with us. It does consider the alternative viewpoints that prevail in the economic literature, so you'll be looking at different views and opinions. It's a social science, it's not a hard science, so there are always lots of different opinions about things. And if we've seen anything over the last 10 years, it's that economists can often be wrong about their predictions. So you'll look at things like that, you'll look at assumptions and how they were drawn and how they potentially were wrong or right in different ways. And it should develop your understanding of the intuition behind mathematical models. So there is maths in economic theory, so you've got to learn how that maths is applied, what it means in practice as well, both in a macro and a micro setting. So the format, very similar to what Anna said about the business course. You'll do usually 2 hours of lecture per week, either as one lecture or 2 small lectures, and again 3 hours of seminars. As Anna said, the seminars are there to support the lecture usually, so you usually have your lecture early for earlier in the week, any seminars towards the ends of the week, but it depends on the modules that you're studying. And in terms of assessment, again, for economic theory, like all of our courses, you have summative assessment and formative assessment. And for economic theory, you'll have a range of essays and mathematical-based assessments as well, but predominantly the former. Just looking at the assessment methods, you have a microeconomics essay of 1,000 words, a macroeconomics essay of 1,000 words, but both of those are 15% of the module. And then you do a literature review of 2,500 words. You may not have heard of a literature review before. Essentially, it's a way to summarize and critique a piece of writing. That's what a literature review is. You'll do a lot of this when you're at university if you do a social science course. So you need to be able to analyze and look at different writing and consider the viewpoints in it. So that's a big part of the course. And you'll also then have a final 50% unseen examination, very similar to our other programs. One of the questions we get asked a lot about economics is, and I think Anastasia said the same, how do I learn about it before I join the program? The best way to learn is look online, and there are some great websites in the UK, great newspapers such as the Guardian newspaper, where they have a great economics section. You can also look at the economicsonline.co.uk website, but just Google economics in the UK, and also just be curious about things. Make sure that you're thinking about the economic implication of policies as a main one. There's lots of news at the minute relating to America, obviously, Brexit in the UK. Just be curious and look at the sources beneath those news articles. Hopefully the real news and not the fake news. Just finally ending on the progression routes available for economics. Again, this is just a few of the options for students, but we see a lot of our students looking to go into our BSc economics route here at Warwick, or also our Morse route, which is maths, operational research, statistics and economics. That's a very popular course for students. Similarly, maths and business studies, and some of our students also go into computer science if they're thinking about going into actuarial studies or practice in the future. That's it for me. Do we have any questions about anything we've talked about in the last hour or so?
We did have one question about the monthly allowance that you recommend.
Okay, so there's a question from Gulmira about the monthly costs, how much we'd recommend for study. It really depends how much you eat, how many times you go out, where you go out, and all those other factors. You'll have a minimum requirement for a visa that you have to show, so that will be a requirement of a monthly pay in your account. But students can spend anywhere between £50 a week to £150, £200 a week, depending on what their habits and experiences are. So it's very difficult to say what you should absolutely spend on a monthly basis. What we can do is send some information to you after this session explaining the different models we have, so we can do that for you as well. The question is, how good is your business school, especially finance and accounting? Good question. The Warwick Business School is one of the best in the world. It's currently second in the country for accounting and finance. It was one in the country a couple of years ago, second this year. So we really are one of the best business schools in the country and the world. We also have some of the best postgraduate programs as well. So obviously I'm going to tell you all of this. It's not fake news, it's real news, but please Google it. That's the best way. Google online, look at the Warwick Business School, and the facts will hopefully speak for themselves, particularly accounting and finance. Do we have any scholarships? Unfortunately, no. We currently don't run any IFP scholarships. Occasionally we run competitions for IFP discounts, but we don't at the moment for this course, and we won't be doing for the 2017-18 academic year. How much is accommodation? Is it monthly or annual? The accommodation costs have not been confirmed yet, I don't think, for next year, but you pay termly, you don't pay annually. It's usually around £4,000 just over the year for Sherborne, which is the IFP accommodation. What we'll do is put that information on our website so that you can see that after this session as well. We'll find out those numbers for you, but you pay termly for accommodation, not annually. Unless you want to pay all in one go, sometimes there might be interest rates benefits to doing so. Any more questions? You're welcome. Any more questions for any of the team here? Nadia, would you like to say anything?
I'm not sure that I need to add something. Oh, sorry. I've seen one question about different types of Kazakhstani attestats. As far as I know, now Kazakhstan is moving towards 12th-year education, which will, and this is Nazarbayev Intellectual School, the education. I suppose that other schools also would move to 12th-year education. So currently, you might receive applications from Kazakhstan with from students who have 11 years school education and 12 years education. Am I correct that you consider applications from both type of students on the same basis?
Yes, we do. I mean, essentially, we want to admit students to this course that would benefit from it academically as a year of their life in preparation for university. So we want to make sure that we can add value to somebody's education for a year. And we consider students at that 12th and 11th year, depending on what they've studied and where they hope to go in the future. So if in doubt, the best thing to do is always to query it with the team, the admissions team, through our website. We have a contact us link on our homepage. And we can provide advice on an individual basis. But what we're trying to do with the foundation program is make sure students are fully prepared for their future academic studies, either at the University of Warwick or another university. So students from this program will be declined if we don't think we'll add value to their experience. We don't want to take students onto the course who wouldn't really benefit from a year of study with us. Places are competitive on this program. So we have, as I said, about 300 places a year, and we usually accept around 1,000 applications. So you can see that only about 1 in 3 students who apply will actually get onto the program here. So one of the things I said earlier in the presentation was how important the personal statement is, and how important it is that students explain why they want to study with us. So provided you can do that and articulate why the subject's really important, then that really helps in our assessment of you. Did that answer the question, Nadia?
From my point of view, yes, but maybe Gulmira wanted to mention something else. If Gulmira...
Okay. Well, we can answer separate questions after the session if necessary. So the next question is: so as a whole, we study economics 10 hours a week. No, you'll study on either course. You'll study up to 5 hours per week of economics, as one of the modules that you'll be studying. So you do 4 academic modules.
Maybe I can add more about. Russian. Ислам. Вы будете изучать в течение одного курса, идет изучение нескольких предметов. Когда вы изучаете каждый из предметов, то есть он называется модулем, на каждом модуле у вас как раз получается примерно по одному модулю 5 очных часов в неделю. А в целом это больше. About in one course.
I completely agree, Nadia. Are there any other questions? Okay, all that's left for me to say is our contact details are on the page there. Thank you very, very much to all of our speakers today, to Anna, to Anastasia, to Nadia, and also to Alison, who's been sat in the corner answering questions and getting this up and set up. This is our first webinar of hopefully many. So thank you for joining us and putting up with any technical problems we've had. If you have questions about the course, we have a simple question form on our website. You can get in touch with us straight away. It's the quickest way to get in touch with the team. Just go to warwick.ac.uk /IFP. Or also, if you want to speak to somebody based in Russia, Nadia is based in St. Petersburg, can be accessed via the email address, as you can see on the screen there. She covers all Russian-speaking markets for us at the moment. The next question is, when would be your next web seminar? That's a good question. You've obviously liked it enough to stick around to the end. We'll be arranging another seminar in the next couple of weeks, hopefully covering different subjects in different areas as well. If you have suggestions about what you'd like to see in a future seminar, please let us know through the website, and we'll get something set up. Hopefully in the next few weeks you'll see another advert on our website for the next webinar. Thank you very much, everybody. We will put the downloads for this presentation online, and we hope to see all of you soon on the International Foundation Programme. Goodbye.